So guys, today we have several things that are going to lead themselves very, very well to this actual tournament that I'm going to talk about. So first thing, 50% off gear removal cost, which means you can re-gear your champions for half the price, which is always amazing. We have CVC going on, which is also going to lend itself excellent to actually doing this. And then obviously the tournament that we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to give you guys the team that I'm going to be using, all the presets and everything, the gearing, the whole 9 yards, and then I'm going to talk about some more, I guess, friendly options in case you may not have thought about those. Now, one thing I want to talk about is, first off, I'm not going to say whether or not this is going to be worth it for each one of you, because first off, I don't know. But second of all, the rewards may be great for you, and you may not really care. These big soul essences, you're going to need quite a bit of them if you're going to awaken your champions, but you're probably not going to need that for a while. So completely up to you. But if you do push for this tournament, you have a really good chance, especially if you're going for this top reward, of actually getting 2 ancient shards, which is a pretty solid, decent value, especially if you're doing dragon for something you're going to do anyway. So for me, it is going to be worth it. I am going to do it. I'm going to get 2 ancient shards, a chance at some forge materials, and then a chance at some relentless gear as well. Probably not first place. I'll probably stop right around this 2100 mark. But something I want to talk about is I absolutely love doing the spider faction specific tournaments, because stage 10 of spider, which is right up here, stage 10 of spider is actually bugged, which means this code right here is wrong. Basically, you get an 81% chance of getting 5-star drops, 18% chance of getting 4-star drops. However, this is only relevant to spider. If you look down here at the very bottom, the points per energy, which is the very, very bottom row down here. So this whole row down here, more specifically this very, very bottom one, is all points per energy spent. On stage 10 of spider, it's a 1.0 for points per energy spent. Now I'm telling you guys all of that just to let you down, to be honest, because the artifact dungeons, which this is the important part, because dragon is an artifact dungeon and not spider, obviously, doesn't have the same bug or Easter egg, whatever you want to call it, on stage 10. Because on stage 10, 69% chance of getting 4-star pieces of gear and 31% chance of getting 5-star. Look down here at the very, very bottom row, and you can see that the points per energy spent are at 0.7. Now you guys can look at this and decide which one's most efficient for you. You can obviously farm any stage you want. For me, I'm going to go to stage 20, because stage 20 has points per energy spent of a 1.1, which is great. It's the best. It's the most efficient of all the dungeons, okay? Even stage 25. So let's go to the very end, go to stage 25. So stage 25 is a 0.9, and then everything in between is going to be lower than stage 20. So I'm going to be doing a team for stage 20. Plus, you can use enemy max HP champions. You don't really have many poisoners in the Orcs faction. I mean, the ones you have, you guys probably don't have. So the options, like Laberga, I think her name is, check right here. I think she's from the Doom Tower, so majority of you probably don't have her. She has 8 reviews in the game, so not very much whatsoever. Let me turn down my FPS. It says 60, so we're not getting all that lag. Also, we'll turn the graphics down to low. But let's go ahead and jump into Dragon. Let me show you guys the team that I'm using, and then we'll talk about some of the champions in the Orcs faction that could help you all out. So this is my team right here. Now, I'm gonna look at the presets real quick. You don't have to use Gomlock. You can definitely use Zargala. I just had Gomlock built already, so I just threw him in here. So for this, I have Robar using his decreased defense the first wave. The second wave, he's not really doing anything in particular. The third wave does whatever. Kreela is not using either of her abilities the first wave, using her A3 ability in the second wave, because I have my weaker seer. Actually, no, my weaker seer I think is nuking in the second wave, whereas my stronger one I think is nuking in the first. But either way, just pair this up to however you need it. And then on Dragon, we're just going to open with the Blinding Glow. So my Kreela does have toxic gear. I'll show you guys the gear after we do the run. So this seer, I have 2 seers. I have a seer at 205 speed and a seer at 192 speed. So this seer, the one that's faster, actually opens with this A2 ability, placing the weaken and increased crit rate. The second wave, she prioritizes the Karma Burn. So what I have going on is the slower seeker opens with Karma Burn. She gets the mastery boost from Whirlwind of Death, I believe it is, extra 18 speed, making her faster than this other seer. So then the second wave, the slower seer before can now place Clan Banner, giving me some more buffs, more debuffs. So then my stronger seer can hopefully nuke everybody down without having decreased defense on the enemy. So my wave 2 looks like that. That's my fast seer. This is my slower seer. And then round 3, we have them doing whatever they want. So Gomlock is on round 1, not using any of that, not using his decreased defense and weaken. Round 2, not using it. And then when we get to the dragon, he's having that prioritized. So as soon as we start the fight with the dragon, that he's going to be ready to decrease defense and weaken. Gomlock is my fastest champion on the team. Like I said, I'll show you guys the actual builds of these champions after we finish this run. But if you don't have this team, obviously you can use a lot of different options. There's a ton of options. If you have the champions, it's not going to be a very fast run unless you can put somebody in toxic gear. Because to be honest, orcs are not very ideal for dragon. Like the orc faction, it's pretty slim. I mean, most factions I feel like they have poisons or like some really good champions, and orcs have some great champions. It's just you gotta be mindful about what you actually bring. Okay, it takes a little bit of thought. This team is relatively fast. My fastest time was about a minute with this team on unlimited FPS. Right now we're obviously running 60 FPS, so it's gonna be slower. We do have Brimstone on Gomlock, which is gonna do a little bit of extra damage. If you can get it to work, great. If not, not a huge deal. You don't need it. The dragon's not going to kill us. Not worried about that whatsoever. But it will help speed the run up ever so slightly. So see there, boom, 173,000 damage. Not anything crazy, but it's a decent little chunk of extra damage for sure. So then Seer does her A3, and now we're coming in with a runtime of, boom, 1 minute and 10 seconds. And that's on 60 FPS. So on Unlimited, it'd probably be under a minute or right about the minute mark. So this team's going to be very consistent. It's going to be what I'm using. Now, if you want to use this team, but you don't have these exact champions, obviously the Seers are needed. Robar, not needed. Gomlock, not needed. Kreela is kind of needed, but if you can get other buffs, you can bring those in as well. So Robar and Gomlock are really just there to bring the decreased defense. If you can nuke with decreased defense alone, you don't have to use the Seers with the weird speed tune that I have. You can just have them doing the A3. Both times, you don't even have to worry about the A2 abilities. So let me jump over here, show you guys their actual builds. They're not super decked out. Like the Gomlock is in a shield set, but as far as damage, nothing crazy. Obviously, you're going to need accuracy on these champions, but outside that, you don't really have to invest too much in them. They're not really geared specifically for this. Like Robar, he's sitting in some random set. He's not even in Savage. If he's in Savage or Cruel, he's going to be able to wipe the waves out no problem. I'm really only worried about Robar placing his debuffs, not so much about damage, though he does only need 85% crit rate. So as far as Robar's masteries go, he has Helm Smasher. This is his setup. Now let's look at Kreela. Kreela is in Toxic Gear for a little bit of extra poisons. I don't use her anymore, so I just threw her in some Toxic Gear. I don't really need anything else for her. Obviously, make sure she's speed tuned with your Seers for the buffs before the Seer does her A3. And then as far as Kreela's masteries, really just whatever you want. You can make these teams optimized to go a lot faster, but I'm happy with the about a minute time. It's not really a problem whatsoever. So my Seer, this is my main Seer, so she's doing pretty good. She has flawless execution, so I like the way she's at. I like where she's at. And then my slower Seer is in full Cruel Gear, masteries like this, so very similar setup, and she does have Whirlwind of Death. So she has this mastery right here, making her faster than the fastest Seer on wave 2. So then this Seer can place this on all the enemies, give us an extra buff for this Seer to strip and do some damage. Now, let's talk about some options as far as champions you can use if you don't have these champions. So first thing, if you don't want to use Robar or Gomlock, just use any decreased defense champion. The Orcs have a few. I know Zargala is going to be a pretty easy option. We have Zargala. We have Duke the Pierced. That's not Duke the Pierced. This is Duke the Pierced. So we have Duke, we have Zargala, and I'm sure we have a lot more, to be honest. But those are the two I can think of right off the top of my head. They're epic champions. If you have them, you can use those champions instead of Robar and Gomlock. No problem whatsoever. So as far as like a free-to-play team, a more friendly team, Duke is going to be amazing. If you have a team that's not speed clearing and you just need to survive the waves, it's going to be a slow run, but you can 100% bring him. I mean, the decreased attack, decreased defense is incredible. Honestly, Duke plus Vrask, if you have these two champions, I know Vrask is neutral affinity, I believe. Let's actually know he's weak affinity. So Vrask is weak affinity, but if you have the decreased attack going out, you're going to be fine. Vrask is going to survive, no problem whatsoever. So bring him, bring Duke, build a team around them too, and you're probably going to be perfectly fine. If you have a legendary champion, you can probably fit them in the team. Nodgar and Iron Brago, I didn't bring those, but really just if you have champions to sustain, to survive, you can build damage dealers, high enough damage, obviously depending on your account, but to wipe out those waves with simply just decreased attack. Let me show you guys the team that I kind of just threw together after doing that one. This team took about 2 minutes, but let's see. Maybe it's my recently used even. So let's Master Vault. What I did was I used Kreela. I think I threw in Zargala, Duke, and Vrask. This is exactly what I used. It took, I think, about 3 minutes, but it's going to be pretty safe. No presets, nothing. Just have Kreela. Everybody's doing their thing. You can see my Robar. I mean, he's not that geared, not that well geared, and he hits the waves with his decreased defense ability, and it's almost killing them. Like, they don't have that much left. He gets around to one more turn, and majority of them are going to be dead, if not all of them. So perfect. Robar, very, very hard-hitting champion, but even Zargala, built well, can do very, very similar stuff. She has a very hard-hitting AoE ability, which she may need to be booked. Obviously, if you're relying on the decreased defense, go ahead and book the champions. But I'm not going to sit through this whole run. It's going to be fairly slow. You could definitely build a team without Seer that's perfectly fast. Seer's not really needed. You just got to be mindful about having poisons, having Giant Slayers, War Master, extra damage procs, whatever you can get on the actual dragon, because it's going to help speed up the time. If you're really worried about the time, then make sure you have those things brought along. But if not, a team like this can work perfectly fine. With Vrask doing his attacks on the dragon, we're never really in danger of actually dying. So guys, hopefully that helps you out. Hopefully if you want to go for this event, you have a decent little team built. If you guys have any suggestions for teams, definitely let me know down below. Honestly, with these factions, you probably have the best idea with your account. You can see what's possible to a point. Dragon Stage 20 is pretty easy, obviously, depending on where you're at in the game. Some people can't even do it yet. And if you're one of those players, you should probably sit out during this event. If you can't even do Dragon 20, you probably can't do it with a specific faction. This is much more of a later game event because you need more options as far as champions go. So guys, hope you all enjoyed that video. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you can go out and get that ancient shard or 2 ancient shards plus the essence plus some relentless gear. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video.